Welcome to the Secret Art of Business. And today I have Hilary Buchanan. Hilary, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You are such a creative person, so I am incredibly excited to have you here. I'm going to start though where you are right now, which is creative director at Pixel Park. So
Yep,
let's talk a little bit about that. What is Pixel Park about, and what do you do for them?
absolutely. Yeah. So Pixel Park, we're a video production studio here in Columbus, Ohio. We used to say we were an animation studio, to be totally honest, but
Hmm.
we've been sort of shifting that language because we do live action and we love live action. And we're finding that we just really want to support our clients in every way that we can. So we're a video studio. And we work with all types of clients. We work for Nationwide, one of our biggest clients, but
Oh, fun.
we work for nonprofits, smaller businesses, partner with agencies, and we're sort of their go to video partner. So we can take things from start to finish. We'll concept, pitch, we can write for video, design, animate, or do the live action production and deliver what they need. So we're pretty much full service. And yes, I am the creative director, and I am actually technically employee number one. We just celebrated, which is crazy.
You
We
should
just,
include that. You're way more than a creative director then.
I should employee number one. Um, so I, so I started at Pixel Park as a graphic designer,
Hmm.
and over the years, the only reason I have been here for 11 years, to be honest, is because I've had so much change in my position and because we have so much interest with our clients.
Awesome.
I am a person that does get bored and that just loves to change and experience, and I get curious about new things all the time.
Hmm.
Um, but I started as a graphic designer, moved into eventually more of an art director role as our team grew. And then eventually, it was actually kind of funny because I asked for the art director promotion. I was ready. I felt like I was doing it. And the creative director position, I think because I always knew I wanted to get there, I was more hesitant. And I had a couple team members sort of like nudge me and say, "You're already doing it. Like, just accept."
Well, let's get you new business cards. I mean,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that's us, and that's what I do. And we're a team of 11. We've got
oh my goodness.
project manager, so production folks. There's two directors. I'm creative director. We have Alexis, who's our associate creative director, and a couple animators, but everybody kind of does multiple things.
Yeah,
So,
that's what it's when it's collaborative. It's really, really fun.
yeah. Yeah.
Let's just put a little more fine point on this. So, when for the people that come to you, who would be your ideal client? What would they be looking for?
Honestly, they would be looking for a collaborative, proactive video partner who can really support them in lots of different areas.
Okay.
So we have a new relationship with Path Robotics here in
Hmm.
town. Um, and we have just been loving getting to immerse ourselves in their brand, in their messaging, and the things that they want to tweak and change, how they sort of show up in the market.
Hmm.
And we're here just supporting them with animated videos, with live action interviews, with suggestions for ways to sort of elevate their content online and on their
Hmm.
site. So we our industry, the video space can be very one-off oriented. It can be very a client comes in, produces a project, and we maybe don't see them ever again or
Right.
not for another year or two. And that we can do that as well, but we really our ideal client is the one that wants to make the most of the relationship.
Yeah,
So,
I was just going to say, make it a whole relationship. So, are you helping them with branding, or they already have their branding and then they're coming in for more storytelling, or does it vary?
usually it varies. Usually they have branding, but we have had clients come in the middle of a rebrand or they're starting something new. It's not
Hmm.
uncommon that we'll have a business come to us and say, "We need an explainer video or we need a brand awareness video, but we're also building our brand like right now." So, and honestly, it's funny because we do have some traditional graphic designers on staff. I come from a more traditional background. Liz,
Hmm.
our senior designer, does. So we have done like we did a logo design for a client because they ended up needing to change their business name like in the middle of our project.
Oh, wow.
So we'll step into spaces that we don't necessarily overtly sell, but we have the skill set, so we'll throw it in.
Very cool. And then would this be used solely for content? Is this like commercials? Is it what teaching
Also,
things or
yeah, yeah, also across the board. So we can definitely do broadcast commercials. Most of our content is living online, usually on a website.
okay.
Sometimes it's YouTube, sometimes it's social. And we try to look at a project and see if there's multiple deliverables that we can offer for the places where our clients are putting content. And we'll do B2C and B2B. Honestly, we probably do more B2B at this point. Like we do a lot of internal communications. Um, so it varies, which is fun.
What would you say to somebody that just said, I shoot all my content with my iPhone?
Well, it depends. I wouldn't shoot it down right away, but I would say, like, where is that coming from? Is it because, you lack a budget? Is it because that's the type of vibe that you're going for, like a user generated content
Hmm.
spot? Um, so I wouldn't shoot it down, but I do think there's a lot of conversations to be had about who the audience is. I will say that's another thing that we have started saying a little more out loud is also strategizing with our clients.
Yes.
We're not just, we can be, but we're not just a receive all of the information and execute. We want to understand, how are you talking to your audience? Who are they? Where are they online? So that we can give an outside perspective and some strong video recommendations. So again, if someone's doing something with their iPhone, it might be fine. It really
Hmm.
might. And I haven't done it yet, but I have aspirations to make a film with my iPhone.
Oh yeah,
There,
yeah.
there are iPhone
Yes,
filmmakers.
yes.
They're beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it's totally an option. But if you want something to look really nice, if you want something to feel professional,
Hmm.
then you'll want to put in more energy to the higher production value stuff.
Great. And I had to ask that because being a creative person myself, we would run into that sort of thing too, where maybe you would make something and they would be like, "Oh, I could totally do that," and my
Yeah,
immediate knee jerk reaction is, "But you didn't." But
yes,
there's a lot to be said for bringing in professionals that have the eye for it, that are
yeah,
just going to, even if you want just a small piece that is just really elevated over the top, pretty much everything that you said. It's, like taking, I think there's a lot of, actually, this is a better story. I know a person who bought a really expensive camera because they wanted to take better pictures. And I'm like,
mhm.
you could use your phone and take better pictures. What you need is a class.
Yeah, honestly, no, you're right. I
So
think
the
that's
cameras don't take better pictures. There's something about this, a little bit of the science to it, if you will, that is what
yes,
makes it great. And I'm going to say for you, that's what you deliver. You deliver that professional eye that is going to just get it right. Yes, you can do it, but you
yeah.
can hand it over to professional, and they're going to just make it professional and polished and like
100%. It's like any other profession. Like you said, you go to the professional, and if the professional says, "Oh, you just need," like if you go to a doctor, "Oh, you just need a Band-Aid." Great, walk away. But if they say
right.
you need stitches, you need extensive surgery, you say, "Okay, I trust and respect that you're giving me a recommendation that's tailored to my situation."
Yeah, and I would recommend people talk to you, if anything else, just for options, because
100%.
sometimes too we don't even know what is out there, and you're
Yes.
like, what you're doing is great, and we're going to totally build on that, but here's how we can make it even better, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know this was possible. So
Yes, because
that
we understand that people, they might have budget constraints because live action production, especially, and animation, depending on what you're doing, can get very expensive. So
right,
we want to work with what you have, what you need. So it's definitely a conversation for sure.
very very cool. I love it. I love it. All
Yeah.
right, now you've always been kind of a creative person. And I think when we were first introduced, it was when you were doing this project called Creative Babes, which then changed to Creative
Yes.
Beings, which I loved. It was a little more inclusive. Uh,
Yeah.
but and you did it for a while, like for over 9 years. What was the seed that you planted that you were just like, this is what I want to create? How did that all happen? What was the
It
mission?
was it was a very organic process. So, like you said, this was nearly a decade ago now when we decided to start Creative Babes. And I was partnering up. I was actually sort of entering my creative career.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Megan Lee was a friend of mine in the photography space. And I apologize. My my dog may get go lay down. No. She wants to play.
I must say, they really always do.
I'm like, you were doing great. You were taking a nap. No, no longer. So Creative Babes, we initially, so I had started going to some events. I was going to AAF. I was going to CSCA. I was trying to immerse myself in the professional community here in Columbus,
Right.
but it did feel that way. It felt pretty professional. And I was finding that I wanted something a little looser, something that just lent itself more to like just relaxed collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Megan agreed, and Megan and I both said, there's not really a space like that. There's not really a space, especially for women like that. So it was in one night that we just came up with the idea and decided to go for it. And we had a little bit of an agenda, but we knew we wanted to get feedback from that first event. Like, why are you here? What are you doing here? And so we did surveys like on the spot, and nobody wanted portfolio reviews. Nobody wanted the professional
Right.
services. And probably part of that is because those things are already available here in the city. But everybody just wanted to be together and gather. So we just ran with it. And honestly, it was just years of experimenting, trying, listening to feedback, where we eventually had that format of the quarterly gatherings. Because we also got burnt out along the way because
Sure.
we tried a lot of different things because it was going well. And so people would say, oh, you should do a market. So we did a holiday market for I think it was 3 years. And it was awesome, but it was hard work.
Oh,
And so
sure.
we had to say, is that really what we want to do? Is that really our mission? And so eventually had these quarterly gatherings with a theme, and we would rally around the theme with connection and performance and storytelling. And I grew so much as an individual. Like now being on the other side of it, I I just feel so grateful that we said yes to it and that we kept doing it because now I know all of these wonderful people and I feel connected and I feel confident in my own creativity.
Right. I liked it just from the aspect of like you said, it was just so casual and very free, and it was not structured. And I mean, you obviously had agendas and or topics and things like that, but it was not. It was just a true kind of creative experience on a lot of different levels because it's like, well, there's no
Yeah.
rules technically, you know. So
Yeah.
what better place to create than when there's absolutely no rules?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I like what you said too. It very much was an experience. Like come and be, and then you could take what you want from it. You don't have to. That was important to us. We wanted a place where people didn't feel like they were needing to give out their business cards or present themselves in a certain way.
Yeah, it was all of that. So I think that was mission
Mhm.
accomplished. But it kind of ran, you know, it's life, and then you were able to move on to something else. And you know, a lot of the people that were a part of it, I thought they ended up having a great start in their career just by having that opportunity too. So
Oh,
it was
thanks.
perfect timing. It was perfect
Yeah.
timing for that. I don't want to go back too much further in your career because you have stayed pretty creative, but you had this little thing where you were actually an actress for a little over a year. Um,
Yes.
how did that come about?
Oh goodness. Well, it's funny. I'm still acting a little bit here and there.
Oh, nice.
But I tried a little bit of drama when I was a kid.
Hmm.
And I really liked it. I was always interested in it, but I don't think it was nurtured. And I ended up being nurtured in other spaces that I loved, gymnastics and athletics. But it was one of those things that it kind of nagged at me as I got older. Like,
Yeah.
I still want to try that. I still want to see what that feels like. And so I ended up um, taking a couple of acting classes
Hmm.
and feeling confident enough to go to an agent and say,
Very cool.
so I had an agent for about a year. I did a handful of commercials.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I got a really big boost from at the time I was bartending and I had a
Hmm.
regular. His name was Barry, and he used to work in Hollywood like in the 50s.
Yeah.
He was a character
He
and
was
he
there telling it like it is.
very much, very much. And he would always tell me like, Hillary, you'd be such a great commercial girl. And so I just kept feeling like, okay, somebody believes in me. So let's
Right, right.
give this a shot. Yeah.
I love it. Do you like yeah, 'cause I would be, and maybe it's just because it's creative people in general. You always want to try everything, but I'm like, I would love to be like an extra in something. I don't want necessarily a line,
Yes.
but just pretend like I'm talking and walking past some people in the background.
Yeah. Those are fun roles too. Yeah, because there's so much less pressure and you get to
Make
be
yourself
among
see.
the
I always tell my daughter every time that we're watching, like a Star Wars movie or something like that. I'm like, what would be so cool is if you were just a stormtrooper. You could say you were in Star
oh my
Wars.
gosh.
You know what
Yep,
I mean? That's me right there.
yep.
So no pressure.
My uncle, he did have a speaking line, but my uncle was in the original Superman.
Oh wow.
He was an actor though. Like he was a working
Uh-huh.
commercial actor. But he's like a cameraman who his only line is, "What the hell was that?" But I'm like, that is amazing. Like
That
you
is
get
amazing. I mean, it's a
very
little. I mean,
you.
he always will have that. I mean, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that is
fun.
hilarious. All right, so you talked a little bit about what you did with the kid as a kid. So I'm going to dig into that a little more. And that was that liked, being in plays or whatever, or you thought you might have the acting bug or something like that. So, is that how you spent a lot of your free time, or what did you do in your free time that was really fun and creative?
Well, I I will say this. I have an interesting relationship with, I think, even the word creative,
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up, my brother is so incredibly talented. He was
Mm-hmm.
able to draw very early and he does graphic novels now. Like he just had a knack for drawing.
Yeah.
And I think I just thought, oh, he's the artist. I'm not the artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided that very early. And so I actually did have creative hobbies. Now looking back, I would write poetry.
Yep.
I played the cello. But I, for a long time, really just was like, oh, I was an athlete because I was in competitive
Right.
gymnastics.
Right.
And it honestly took me probably until we started Creative Babes and maybe years in where I finally embraced that word for myself
Nice.
and felt like I am creative and I'm creative in my own special way. And it doesn't
Yes.
have to be this level, or
Right.
I let go of the expectations of what that meant for me.
And I love that you had that conversation with yourself, because that's one of the things that I'm trying to do with this podcast is that everybody is creative and not to necessarily look at the person who draws the best as the artist.
Yes.
We all make something, and if it's cooking, if it's photography, even if you're doing it as a casual hobby or something like that, if you have some sort
Mhm.
of creative outlet, you are making something, and that
Yes.
part is so valuable for us because that not only helps us unplug, but it keeps the whole brain going, and we need all of that in order to find our place in the world, to be successful, to just have a little more joy in our life. Because the reason I choose that question about what you did as a kid is because that's when, before we had big responsibility, or you just had so much more freedom, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, and an example is you could ask somebody who's in business, for example, if you had the day to yourself, what would you do? And some people are
Mhm.
sometimes stuck, or I'd run some errands, and I'm like, no, that's not you. What would you totally do with the whole day if you could do something? And it takes a lot
Yes.
of people to kind of figure it out. But that's where we truly are, and that's what we need the most. So whatever that thing is. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you shared that you had some creative, outlets, and you
Mhm.
basically continued. You kept very strong in that. So that's fantastic. But as a creative person, we are
Mhm.
sometimes in need to unplug too, because I always felt like, well, I'm having so much fun. Clearly, I don't need to unplug and do something else, but we do. So, is there something? Is there something that you do? I mean, it can still be kind of creative, but that it's not, making some of these live action videos and things like that. What do
Yeah.
you do beyond that?
Beyond that, well, my hobbies are always changing. Like
You are so
if I
creative.
was if I
Let's
was
do
to say,
this. Let's do this.
when it's like unplug, like yeah, but unplugging from like professional work, the places where I find myself right now are strength training. I'm like all about
Ooh.
big weights right now.
Oh gosh.
Mhm. My trainer has gotten into, it's called hard style kettlebell training.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it originates from like training soldiers in the Soviet Union, like because because you can take kettlebells wherever and have like a really great workout.
Like
So
some sort of Cold War workout.
yeah, yeah. So I'm like really into that. Um, I I have an interesting interest in reading and learning, and I'll write about it too. Just the topic of aging and dying.
Wow.
I It's a space where I just continue to enjoy reading and learning and want to maybe eventually have more creative expressions of that, but I feel like I'm in sort of just like the soaking up phase there. And it is creative, but I'm an improv actor now. So I have,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like it's play, and what I love about it is there's no preparation, no equipment. Like the creative vehicle is you.
Right.
Is like the bet like it's not easy by any means, but it's nice
No,
to
but
just show up.
it's almost scarier that way with no guardrails on anything. It's like this could go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like so much fun.
And I love to read and travel and walk my dog and hang out with my partner, and he studies physics, so that's like a
Oh
whole
wow.
I get non-creative stuff. Although that stuff feels so creative.
Too though. I mean, I just did record a podcast with somebody who's in chemistry, and we were talking about just how it's all, about inventing and thinking and innovation and all this sort of stuff. So
Yes.
physics is probably very similar in that regard.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the
Yeah.
fact that I'm assuming you're dragging him along a lot of these adventures, these travel adventures anyway,
Oh,
that's
yes.
probably very beneficial for, the back end of his work too. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
great, finally I can maybe crack this code.
I know. When I'm hoping, it seems like physicists like to meet in like really beautiful places in the world. So I'm hoping that at some point,
Oh.
like he has
We're
some
going to Switzerland or we're going to, something like that.
Italy, Italy. I'm like, please take me with you.
Yeah, no, I'll just be quiet. I'll be really quiet. You won't have to entertain me at all.
Right? Right? Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah.
would be a blast. That would be
I
a blast.
know.
Well, you know what? Thank you so much for this. I
Thank
have loved to learn
you.
a little more of your backstory. Like I said, we've just been kind of, you know, um, casual acquaintances in a way to a certain
I
degree.
know.
And this has been great to actually have like an in-depth conversation. And I know that the people that listen to the podcast will really love to hear about your process, your thinking, and like I said, just about how creative you actually are, because that kind of you're kind of tipping the scales as far as the possibilities for people. But yet
I
you
hope so.
have had a great career. So it is possible.
I truly feel like I'm just getting started,
I
which
love that. I
is
love
so
that.
nice. I mean, I know I'm not, I don't know, I'm 38. I'm gonna be 39 this year. And I really do
You
feel
are
like
just getting started.
yeah, I'm like, I can do anything. And now I have this experience that I can take with
Yes,
me.
yes, yes.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited for you because
Thank
it
you.
does get better. I can tell you, it does get
I
better.
love that. Yes, yes. I love to hear that.
Well, thank you so much again for your time. I will have all the
Thank you,
details for
Catherine.
Pixel Park in the notes,
Cool.
and people can definitely connect with you on LinkedIn or read on LinkedIn what a little more about you. But I appreciate your time today, and I
Thank
have thoroughly
you.
enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. Thanks, Catherine.
You are so welcome.